Hi, this is Linda. I'm going to teach you how to make the basic T-bottom tote. And this is an example of a T-bottom tote. Mine will be very similar. I may not have this seam here, and I actually am going to add a pocket, and it's going to have fabric with some leather trim on it. And here's my lining. So, but basically it's this type of pattern. Okay, so the first thing you do is score your paper. I already scored my paper. And I'm going to straighten the top edge. You pin like you do with all the patterns. Okay, so that's you have your top straight edge that you start to work from. And then to figure out your dimensions, I'm going to make it a similar dimension to this, which is about 8 inches by 8 inches. It's like basically a square. So what I do is, to get that front back pattern, I measure down the 8 inches from the top. And pin, but you can make it any dimension you want, but I'm just doing like a medium-sized tote. Okay, and basically, actually, I'm going to first do a pencil line right here, just indicate where the bottom is. Okay, and what we're doing here also, to let you know, is we're making the master pattern, and then I'll show you how to do the outside. Okay, so it's 8 inches down, and then since it's 8 inches across, I fold and measure over 4 inches on each side. Pin all the way through to the other side. And then I'm going to draw the line between the 2 pins. Okay, so this represents really the front of the bag, and the reason it's called a T-bottom is because it actually your pattern actually looks like an upside down T but you'll see. So this pattern will also have the sides and the bottom attached to it, and I'm thinking I'll make it about 4 inches wide or deep. So you fold your paper and measure down. Actually, you divide that in half. So you measure down half of that, which is 2 inches, and pin. Open your paper, and then you can draw the line at the bottom. And then since it's 4 inches wide, your gusset will be the same dimension. So you measure 2 inches out from that outside line on the front. Pin. Hopefully I pin all the way through because you want to get to the other side of the paper. Okay. Pencil line. Actually, I can draw this line all the way down to show you what the T-bottom looks like. Okay, and then the other side, the same thing. Right now I'm drawing the pencil line, but actually you can be cutting this line already. But this is just to show you how you get that shape. Okay, so that now I'll cut it out. But what it is there's the front and back, and the bottom and the gusset sides, and so you will have 2 of these, and it's the reason, that's why it's called a T-bottom, because it is like a big T. So now you just cut this out. You can fold. Cut through both layers, and then you open the pattern so you can cut between these two pins. And then I'm cutting this little square out, and then you'll have the basic T-bottom. Layers. My knife is dull, I think. Okay, and this shows you basically what the T-bottom is. That's why it's called a T-bottom tote. I'll actually score these parts that are going to be folded to show you how it comes together. So these pieces will be folded like this. And so this represents half of your bag. You cut two of these. And that's why they call it a T-bottom tote. And then when you do a bottom piece that will be sewn before you sew the whole thing together. And the way you do that is take a piece of pattern paper. I think this is already straightened on one side. I know that it's 4 inches wide, so I measure from the top 4 inches and pin. And then it's 8 inches wide, so I measure 4 inches across from this. I fold a paper, measure 4 inches from that fold line. Okay, and then I cut between those two pins. Okay, and that's your bottom panel. So what that will do is you'll cut two of the, well, this is your master, and your outside, again, is always the 3/8 inch bigger than your master. If you're doing leather, you could make it like a 1/2 inch if you're doing fabric. And then this will be the bottom piece. So you'll have 2 of these pieces and 1 of these. And you also always label your pattern. So this is a T-bottom tote, master, and it's actually your front, back, sides, and bottom, really, because this is the front and back. That's that's the bottom, and these are the gussets, which is all in one piece. And then you label your other little master here, T-bottom tote. This is the bottom, and you only cut 1. This one you'll cut 2. And as always, you'll be using this pattern, your master pattern, for any of your stays that you put in there, because I'm going to put some backing in it because this is kind of thin material. And basically that's the beginning of your T-bottom tote, and I'll go to the next step in a little while. Thank you. Okay, so we did the master of the T-bottom tote, and now what I'm going to do is the outside pattern. So So I'm taking another piece of pattern paper, straight, flattening it out with my straight edge. You want to start with a pretty flat piece of paper, always. So now I'm just going to score the paper in approximately the middle. I hope I have enough paper. Yeah, I do. Okay, score the paper. Okay, straighten the top edge. Pin all the way through. I try to hold my awl straight up and down as much as possible because it makes a more accurate measurement. Open it up. Cut between the pins. Okay, yeah, your outside pattern, the seam allowance, I'm going to make it a 3/8 seam allowance, but you may want to do 1/2 inch with fabric if you want, but I still like using a 3/8 seam allowance. So to start with that, what I do is I measure 3/8 inch down from the top and pin. Oops. 3/8. Open your paper. Draw your pencil line between the two pins. Okay, and then you take your master and you just line it up. You actually should have, I forgot to put my little notches here. You really should notch your pattern in the center so that you can line everything up. Just a real small notch. Okay, so that also allows you to line up your fold because you'll be able to see it through that little notch. Okay, so you line up that fold to the top, well actually to the seam allowance line. Okay, and basically, and then the bottom too. And what you basically just trace your master from there, and you can just follow it all the way around. Okay, and then I'm just going to measure out the 3/8 all the way around. So I can fold it and do the sides. Three-eighths from there and 3/8 from here. Okay, and I can cut all the way through to both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to measure 3/8 from the bottoms of the master that you just traced. Pin all the way through. Open your pattern, and then you cut between those two pins. Okay, and then the seam allowance here, you do this. You measure out the 3/8 from either side of this. I'm going to actually draw a little pencil line so you'll be able to see where it comes together. There's the 3/8 that way and the 3/8 this way. So I'll just cut that little square out. So now you have your outside pattern for your T-bottom tote. Yeah, and also I do the notching of the middle. It's really good for alignment when you're lining everything up. Okay, and I label the pattern. This is the T-bottom tote. Front, back, side, and then it's the outside. We put OS for the outside, and you cut 2. Okay, and then the outside pattern for the bottom is just making this 3/8 inch bigger also. So I'm going to cut a piece of paper. Score your paper. Straighten the top edge. Okay, and then I fold it again, and I'm going to measure the 3/8 down and pin. Open your paper and draw your pencil line for your seam allowance. Okay, and then you're taking your T-bottom bottom and aligning this up with the fold line. And like the other pattern, you just trace it all the way around. Trace your master. Okay, so you have that, and then fold it back up, and then you're just going to measure 3/8 all the way around this pattern. Not measure, but I mean you're going to cut it at that point. So you can open your paper. I only really needed to pin it once, but I did 2 holes there. So you cut between the pin lines, or pin holes. Okay. And then on the sides, just measure 3/8. Cut between the pins. Okay, and that's this is the outside pattern. Let me notch it also. And also label it. It's the T-bottom, bottom, and it's outside, and you only cut 1. And so see, this is the master, and that's the outside pattern. And I should have notched the master too. Just a little notch. And speaking of notching, you can also, you really, like Richard usually notches where the seam allowance is. You can do that also. I'll show you how to do that. You can draw your pencil line all the way over, and then you'll see where the seam allowance should be, and then you can notch it right there on that little line. So while you're sewing, you know exactly your seam allowance, even though your machine may have that indicated on its on the panel where you're sewing. Okay, so that's notched too. So when you're sewing, you know exactly where your seam is going to be and where it lines up. And you really can do it on all your pattern pieces. Also maybe indicate where you're going to, when you do sew this together, you'll have to put a notch right here too when you sew it together. But I'll show you how this gets put together. After the next step would be actually to cut out your pieces and then also back your material if you have to back it, which I have to do. So I'll be doing that next. Okay. So I'm going to now make the lining pattern. The lining pattern is basically the same as the outside pattern, but it's 1/16 smaller. So what you do, I've already straightened my pattern paper. I'm going to score it. and straighten the top edge. So since it's going to be a 1/16 smaller all the way around, I basically, you're just taking, whoops, no, using my outside pattern, and what you can do is pin it. So you can know what your 1/16 is. Put a little pinhole right there. A 1/16 into the pattern. Okay, so you take your pattern and you have that little pinhole, so you can line it up at the top of your pattern paper. Okay. And then what you can do is pin right through the pattern paper to the other side, so you know where your 1/16 is. Try to get through. You can just do it on one side and then fold it over. So actually what I could do is fold this like this. And I'm just pinning right through the pattern paper. Okay, and then I just cut between those pins. Okay, so you cut between those pins and make sure I cut straight, perpendicular to that line. Okay, and then you also indicate your seam allowance, which is, for me, is a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And I can just pencil in that line. You do that all the way around. I don't need to do the whole thing. And then you also notch, as usual. You do your notching, and you can do your notching for your seam allowance here also. Okay, and then on my lining, I will have a inside pocket, so I can indicate that on this pattern too. I just measure down at least like 1.5 inches or 2 inches down. I'll make it like 1.5 inches down from this seam allowance. Okay, pin it, and I usually use about like a 5-inch zipper, or maybe 6 inches. I'll use zipper. So I measure 3 inches from each direction, or just put this is the line for your zipper, where your zipper pocket will be. And then you also label it. You have to label the whole thing. So it's a T-bottom tote, lining, and then cut to, and this is the lining zipper pocket. Okay, and then you don't need to, this is the whole piece for your lining. You just have 2 of these. You don't need to do any bottom piece because this actually makes up the bottom also. Okay, and so the next thing I'll do is make the pattern for the little appliques that go on the outside. Take a little piece of pattern paper, and the appliques, well, I'll just make them about, well, cut. Maybe I shouldn't get it. I'm back. I'm going to now work on the strap pattern, and then after we do the strap pattern, we'll do the applique pattern. The straps are about, they don't have to be this long, but I think I'm going to make them shorter than this. These were about 22 inches, but I think I'm going to make them more like 20 inches. So you make sure you have enough pattern paper. So here's enough paper here. Okay, and I score in the middle and straighten out. You really should cross score, so actually that's what I'm going to do is do the middle fold, okay, and then go about in the middle of this and pin. So I'm doing it what we call a cross score. When you want something really symmetrical, that's what you do. So I'm going to score between these 2 pins. You got to really hold down your straight edge really good because it'll move around. So. Okay, so now you have a fold either direction because you're going to want to make this, really straight. And I'm going to make the strap about, I think I'll make it 3/4 of an inch. So I'll measure, half of that would be 3/8, I believe. Yeah, 3/8. 3/8 and 3. Yeah. So I measure 3/8 from the center and pin. You can actually open it up and pin it right on the exact same spot over here. But I can fold it, and then when I cut this, I'll have 3/4 of an inch wide. Turn it this way and cut it. So that's the length of your strap. That's the basic size of your strap. If you want it to a 3/4 inch strap, and I was going to make them 20 inches. So I fold and measure 10 inches from the center, and pin. You can fold and then pin through there, fold over, and then you're cutting between those 2 pins, and then you'll have your strap. Oh, slipped a little bit there. Try to make it really straight across. Okay, so now my strap is 3/4 of an inch by 20 inches. And then you label your strap pattern. Gives the T-bottom tote, strap, master, and you're going to be cutting 4 of these. So you say cut 4. Okay, and then the next piece would be the little applique, and this applique you can make it any shape you want, but I like to make a little curved piece, so I just take a piece of paper and fold it, and it's already straightened out. So the applique, I'm going to make it, see the strap, it has to cover the strap, so I need to make it at least, I think I'll make it an inch and a quarter wide. So and I'll just measure, say, an inch and a quarter. So half of that is 3/4 of an inch, I believe. So I pin it 3/4 of an inch from that fold line, and then pin a little bit down this way, and I'm going to make it about an inch and 3/4 deep. So I'll measure down inch and 3/4 down. Or indicate your pencil line right there. Okay, I actually can really just cut right there at this point. And then from here, I was going to make it like a little rounded thing. So you could take your French curve or something that's round and create your that curve or whatever shape you want. I lost my pencil, my good pencil. Oh, here's one. Okay, I like using these mechanical pencils because then you don't have to sharpen them, and they're like, then you get a really precise line. So there's a little shape that I made there. Okay, just cut. Yeah, I don't really like that too much, so let me kind of shave off a little bit to the shape I want. You can freehand this, or trace a shape that you like. I just want like a little bit of a curve there. Maybe I'll make it more of a round thing though. So take a little more off of there. Okay, so that's my basic applique master. It's a little rough there. Let me cut that off. Okay, so you label that one also. This is applique. Well, it's a T-bottom tote, applique, master, and you're going to cut 4 of those. Okay, and then for these you also will do your outside pattern, which, like I did before, is the 3/8 inch all the way around for these 2 pieces. I'm going to back this fabric that we're using because it's very thin, and this is a tote, so we do need to add a little thickness. You can either use this Helen stuff that you get at any fabric store, or you can use felt. And what I'm going to do is take my outside pattern and use that for this. I'm going to trace that, and then I'm going to be gluing it with just a little bit. You can also use a fusible one, but I don't always want to use a fusible one because sometimes you want to move things around, and with the glue that allows you to actually pick it up and move it. So I'm just going to trace. Actually, the thing is, what I'm going to do is start from this line right here. I'm going to, because this piece will also serve as a stay where I'm going to turn the fabric around. So actually what I should do is straighten this edge a little bit so it's a nice even edge. Okay, and then I will line this up, and I'm going to start it where my seam allowance is, because this is going to serve as a stay also. Okay, so I'm just going to trace all the way around with like a pen or something. trace that all the way around. And then you're going to cut 2 of these. You can either cut with scissors or your X-Acto knife. Okay, and after I finish cutting 2 of these, then I will show you how I glue it to the fabric. Okay, and I'll be right back. So what I did is I traced this is the outside pattern. I traced it on the fabric and traced it and then cut it out. And the next thing I'm going to do is glue this piece to the fabric. This is your backing piece. And I'm going to glue that down and put enough glue here so I will be turning this. Okay, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. Okay, so I laid out the pieces that I've cut out. I cut out my front and back pieces and the backing pieces, which is sort of works out as a stay also, including the bottom one. And I'm going to have to, what I'm doing is gluing these gluing the backing to the fabric. And I'm just doing a light glue. It's not like really heavy because this stuff can kind of bleed through. So it's just like a light gluing, because just to kind of attach it. Because mostly the stitching is really going to keep it together, but this is just sort of to tack it down. So just do like a little light gluing with this rubber cement, the regular kind of rubber cement. And after I let this dry, I'll be back and I'll show you how to put this together. Okay, so I did glue. I tacked down some glue, just lightly put it on these pieces, and now I'm attaching the backing to these pieces. This will go aligned right to the fabric there, and then on the top here, I'm putting more glue. Wait a minute. Let me replace that down here. Okay, because this is a 3/8 up here, so I've smoothed that out. See, now it's pretty much tacked to here. It's you could pull it off, but it's just tacked, And then the next part is to put some more glue up here, because I'm going to be turning that. So you should really do this all in a well-ventilated area, but I'm just doing this little bit in here. Okay, so while I'm waiting for this to dry, I'll show you on the bottom piece. See, you do it on both of the, here I'll show you, both front and back. Might as well glue both of these at the same time. Yeah, that's really what you should do. Got to reposition it. Okay, that's pretty much it, and then I'm going to put the glue here. The rubber cement, because this rubber cement, it's easy for your machine to sew through it. And on this one I have glue on both. This is the bottom panel, and what I do is this one I glue right in the center of this piece. And on this particular one, I'm going to put glue on these 2 sides, and then I'll turn that. Okay, so I think this one may be dry by now, so I can do the turning. Take your bone folder or butter knife, and you just this is just the same technique as most of our bags, where you fold this fabric over this is basically considered a stay. So you make sure this is nice and lined up, so you get a nice straight turn. Okay, so that's your, see that, then it's very straight, and this you do this on just the top part of this piece. So I'll do both of these. Smooth it out, and then this should be pretty much dry. You do this the sides. Not the side, well, yeah, it is considered a side. So it's these two. Okay, so that's your bottom panel. And see, it looks real nice and stiff. I could iron this also, there's a little crease there. And then the next step will be actually sewing some of the sewing process. The way it works is these two pieces will be sewn together here and here. But first you do this seam right here, this is the first seam. When that's sewn, then you end up putting this piece in here and sew that seam. So that's basically the backing of your fabric, and then you're ready to start sewing. You can also, at this point, if you do want to put in an outside pocket, you can do either a attached pocket, or you can do your buttonhole pocket, which is the one I'm going to show you how to do in your lining. But I'm not actually going to do an outside pocket on this one. Okay, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, stay, take two. Okay, so I'm going to make the stays for the straps and also the applique. What we're going to use is this Bontex. This is the 015 weight, and as you know, or you may know, how Bontex has a certain bend to it and or bias. This one, we want it to bend this way because it's a strap, you know. So you use it. Make sure you have your paper oriented the correct way. Okay, so the first thing you do is just trace trace your pattern piece, and you need 4 of those. So I'm going to trace 4 of them. Missed it. You just kind of line them up, and then you can cut them all at one time. Just butt them together. Oh, the pencil keeps breaking. You might as well cut the ends at the same time. And I'm going to be, these are going to be leather straps, so I'm going to, I'll cut the outside leather. Depending on the thickness of the leather, you may have to skive the leather, but mine is fairly thin, so I don't think I'll have to skive it. So here's the 4th strap. I mean strap stay. I will also cut the applique out of that same Bontex. For the applique, you don't really, the bias really doesn't matter. I think I prefer to bend this the opposite way. So I'll just trace 4 of these and then cut them out. And after I've finished cutting these out, then I'll cut out the leather, and then I'll show you how to... So I'm going to cut the leather strap and appliques out. I'm using this, it's kind of a thin embossed leather. So what I need to do is cut 2 of these and 4 of these outside patterns. So you kind of look at your leather and see, for a strap you don't need the best part of the leather. You can, I mean, you want it to look nice, but you don't have to use the middle part. You can use the edge. So I'm just going to start over here on this edge. And it has sort of an embossed pattern, so I'm going to make sure it kind of lines up. And we use these silver pens to mark the leather. We also, we can also tell you where to get these on our site. Well, we actually sell them on the site in limited quantities. So, but anyway, you trace with your silver pen. What's good about these pens is that you can you can rub it off. It's not permanent. So if you make a mistake, you can always rub off the pen mark. So okay, that's 1. Do 2. And you can put it in your notches too, where your seam allowance is. You can mark that on with your silver pen also. Okay, and I'm going to cut 4 appliques, so I'll go ahead and put those on here too. Once you've made your strap and applique pattern too, you can use these for other bags. That's what's really great. To have like a standard size and width, so you don't have to keep making another pattern. So now I'm just going to cut these out. Okay, and what's good about this strap pattern is that you can use it for other bags. So if you have like a standard size, you can keep the same pattern. And you can make your appliques any shape you want. You know, this is just since this is a basic beginner class, I'm just making it pretty simple. This can be a little rough because you're going to be turning this onto the stays. So it's okay if it's not a really straight line, because what this has to be really straight is your stay. Okay, and then I will cut these appliques. There's 4 of them. And after I finish cutting these appliques, then I will be showing you how to attach these to the straps, and we'll sew our straps, and then we can start to sew the rest of the bag together. Okay. Again, I'm going to work on the straps and the appliques. I have started to make a few right here, but this is to show you how to put it together. So what I've done is here's your leather piece that you cut out. I've already put glue on here, rubber cement, glued solidly down, and I also already put glue on these stays. So the first thing you're going to do is just place these on your leather, and I kind of eyeball it because I kind of know where it should go, but you could put a mark there where your seam allowance is, and it's a 3/8 seam allowance. So I'm just placing that there. And then the other one, the glue is dry, but still tacky. You put the other one almost, you put it next to it, but leave like that 1/16 of an inch space in between for turning. Actually, you know what? I have to reposition these. 1 second. 'Cause this one. That's the good thing about the rubber cement, is that you can reposition stuff. I kind of recommend that bit more so than spray glue. Okay, so put that down. You just have to make sure you have that tiny little 1/16 of an inch space between the two stays, because that allows you to bend. Here's one that I've worked on. See, it has the 1/16 of an inch space in there, and after I've turned it, when it comes together, it goes together more evenly, and then you'll be stitching that. So after you put that down, you also actually put a little more glue. My glue got a little bit thick. You can also get thinner for this glue to thin down your glue. It doesn't have to be very heavy gluing. It's just to get the leather to turn over onto your stay and stick before you actually stitch the strap together. And also, while I'm letting that glue, I just wanted to let you know that I decide, like sometimes when you're making a bag, you decide what you want to do as you're making it. Like I decided, I think I want a little bit of a decorative thing on this bag, so I'm actually going to make a little decorative piece right here. And all that is a piece of stay, and I cut it like a 1/2 inch, and then made an outside pattern which is a 3/8 inch wider. And that one too, I'm just going to place the stay onto the leather, and then I glue the sides here too so I can turn them. I should be doing this on my newspaper, but rubber cement comes off real easy, so you just rub it off. So okay, and so while I'm waiting for this one to dry, and also my applique I've glued already, and I place that in the middle. I think I have a little extra leather there, so I may trim that away a little bit. And you also want to do a little bit of notching, because there's a curve on that applique, and in order for your leather to turn nicely over that curve, you need to clip where the curve is. So, and it also takes out a little bulk of the fabric or leather, whatever you're working with. Okay, so I'm going to take that, do the little cropping there, or notching, and then on the corners too, you go in and then cut that little piece out, so you have less bulk of leather, because it gets pretty thick. But don't cut too far in, or else you'll expose the stay. And on this piece too, I'll put some glue so that I can turn this leather over the stay. This is just one of the appliques. I already did the other 3. Okay, so now this is ready to actually turn, and I'll show you how that's done. you use your bone folder. You can get this at any kind of craft store. You can also use a butter knife. A lot of times we use a butter knife. But you hold down your stay and you kind of lift up a little bit, lift the leather up a little bit, and just put the tool against the stay, and then you turn. And you try to keep it kind of flat. And then you kind of smooth it down. It just is a nice way to get a really nice even fold on your strap. So you just go all the way along on both sides. Okay, and then I'll turn the other, this little applique, or this little, not applique, this is the little decorative piece. I'll be turning that one, but I don't need to do that right now. And I'll show you how I'm turning the applique. These are the ones I've already done. Just start turning, and then after you've turned it, you can cut any little extra pieces of leather off that are kind of too bulky. But going around the curve, you just kind of move your other hand to make the thing move with you. And so then you kind of push your bone folder up against there and kind of make the curve a little bit more pronounced. And then you'll have like these little extra pieces of leather, and what you do is you can trim it. And you should hold your scissors up so you don't make any mistake. I mean, it's easier when you're cutting this way, then you will most likely not cut too much off. So you just trim like that. Just hold the scissors up. And then if there's any over here that you want to trim, if it's too bulky. And there you have your little stay. You can also take a little hammer and bang that a little bit if you want it really flat, but that's basically it. And then when you are ready to sew your strap, you're just turning this. You could put a little extra glue in here to hold it down, but it's still a little bit sticky there. So, but then you fold it like that, and you'll be sewing. You'll be stitching just right here. And I use these clips to hold that down. And I'll show you the actual stitching of these also. So you'll be sewing these, and you'll be putting, the next step would be putting this little decorative piece here. And the appliques are going to go right here. And your strap will be sewn. See, after this is sewn down, it gets, you put it in here, and then you sew across. So you really just sew, you don't sew these yet till you actually sew these onto there when you're putting the strap on, because then you have just one continuous stitch. You don't have to make an extra stitch. Okay, so I did that, and the next thing I will do is do this stitching on the outside, and any other decorative element you want on your outside of your bag, you should do now, because the next part of this will be sewing the actual bag together. And then if you don't put them on now, you won't be able to get your machine in there to sew them. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next step, which is actually sewing these the straps. Yeah, I'm going to be sewing this decorative piece on here, and let me just get it started here. Okay, so I'm going to be sewing this all the way around, and after I'm done with this, I'll be right back. I'm now sewing my straps with the applique on them. I've already gone across the top of it, so I'm just continuing my stitch. And after I finish this, I'll be right back.
go.
Okay, so now I'm beginning to put the bag together, and I'm sewing the bottom part first. And I am using my cylinder machine again because of all the thicknesses that I have to go through, and it just makes it easier for me. But you can sew this on a flatbed on your home machine. So I'm just going to sew this across on the bottom. Okay, so I'm sewing, I have this glued in place, and I'm just going to sew across these seams here. This seam is going to be inside, but I'm just stitching it down, tacking it down so it stays in place. Cut your thread. So there you have the bottom piece, and then the next thing we're going to do is the side seams. So you just put your bag together like this. Line up your, make sure your top lines up really good, and your little decorative things should line up too. So you just clip that in place. Right here.
I'm gonna have to edit that because there's a lot of fumbling around.
There's too much fumbling.
Keep going.
Okay.
So, just say I'm gonna sew up both sides and I'll be right back. Ready? Keep going.
Okay, I'm going to sew up both sides and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I did the side seams, and now I'm going to do the T-bottom stitch. And you basically line up these seams together, open all the seams so that they lay flat. Just make sure that's nice and flat. And you can put a clip to hold it in place. So I'm going to be stitching straight across on that T-bottom. Do a little bit of a back stitch. Okay, I've sewn both sides, both bottom pieces, and now I can actually turn it to see if everything's looking okay. Some little loose threads I gotta cut off. Oh, I think I have missed a little bit right here. I can correct that little stitch right there. Okay, but other than that, that's basically how it is. And then I'm going to do the drop-in lining with a magnetic snap closure, and there will be a zipper pocket inside. Okay, I'm going to make the windows stay for the lining. Start with a piece of pattern paper. The stay, this is actually what it will look like, but what the actual stay is, but you're making the pattern for this. So what I first do is cross score my paper. Okay, and I know what my dimension will be. It's a 6-inch zipper, so I know kind of basically how long this should be inside. It'll be, so you just measure 3 inches out from that seam to each side. That's the inside of where your zipper will be. And then from this inside seam I measure out a 1/4 inch, because the opening is going to be about a 1/2 inch. Okay, I measure that out. From that point, it will be 3/8 inch, so I might go ahead and mark that also. Okay, and I actually can cut that right at this point. I can cut it right there. Okay, and I'll draw my, well, actually I can measure 3/8 inch from that pinhole, and that's the outside of the sides. Okay, fold that over, and I actually can just cut right now between those 2 pins. Okay, and then I pencil in the window opening. Pencil it in. You don't have to cut it out of the actual pattern. Just pencil in the area that you would cut out, and you can just mark it. Let me get my line in here better. Okay, there's the inside of the window, and you can mark that this is cut out. And you mark it your T-bottom tote, zipper pocket, or lining, zipper pocket, stay. And what we're using is a 015, so you put that on there too. And basically it bends this way, pretty much. So you mark your bias also. Okay, and then I will also make the stay for the top of your lining, because you're going to need to turn this top over with a little stay, like about a 3/8 inch stay. So you actually need to make the pattern for that too. And I have a little piece of paper here I can use. Every part of your bag you really have to, you do a pattern for. So you have so everything fits perfectly. Okay, so score my paper, fold it, and I'm going to straighten one edge. And cut across. It's kind of an odd piece of paper, but I'll just cut it across. And then I wanted a 3/8 inch stay, so on that, from that straight edge, you measure away 3/8 inch pin, and you cut it. Okay, and it actually is the length of your lining, so it's whatever that length is, happens to be a little less than, this is about 13 inches, so you can just take half of that measurement, so that's 5.5. Cut that across, so you have this little piece that will be your stay that you turn your lining around, so you know exactly how big it should be. So you mark that also. T-bottom, tote, lining, stay, and you cut 2, and it'll be out of the 015 also. Okay, so these are the 2 pieces for the lining, the 2 stay pieces for the lining. So at this point, what I'd like to do is go over the my patterns with you to make sure we have everything. This should be all the patterns. Okay, that's for the lining. We have our master, front and back. That was the first piece we did. And then we did this was actually the lining, but here's the outside, front and back. And then this is the lining piece. Okay. We have the bottom piece. This is the master with the outside. I made also the lining pocket pattern, which I'll keep over here with this lining pieces, and that's a scrap of oak tag. Here's your strap pattern for your outside, and you have this is the stay, that's made out of 015, and you have your decorative piece, that's the outside, and here's the stay for that, the piece that goes across, and your applique, the master and your outside pattern. So you have all this is now all the patterns that you have for the bag. So everything's in order. And we'll get to the next step where I'm going to show you how to put the lining together, and then we'll drop the lining in. Okay, I'm gluing the lining part I have to glue my stay on here. So I have a little bit of glue there already, so I'm just putting a little more glue. And then I'm going to be, the next step is going to be, I'm making the pocket for this lining. Okay, I'm working on the lining, and what I'm going to do is, I've already glued the parts that needed to be glued, and I started to put a stay there. This is where the other stay goes, right here on the top. And this is going to be the pocket. Oh, actually I have 2 of those. I didn't know I realized I had 2 of these cut. You only need 1 of these, and I glued there. You don't need a stay, you just fold over. I have that already sitting there. Okay, and then this is the stay for the pocket, and I put it, I have some glue there, and I kind of know where it should go. You can mark it exactly where it should go. It's like a couple inches down from the top of your stay. So you put the window for that pocket, and then you put some more glue, just lightly glue, and then you're going to be cutting a little hole there and then turning the fabric around this window stay. While I'm waiting for that to dry, what I'm going to do is show you how to do this pocket for the lining. And so you've turned it right here, and you have your pocket right here. The first thing you do is actually sew the pocket part to this zipper. So I'm going to go and do that right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is sewing the zipper to this pocket piece, and sew all the way across. Lifting that up, and then I do the next step is actually take this, it's this way, and then you take this part, flip it back, and you position it about 1.5 inches down from this top, and you pin it, and then you're going to sew the two sides of your pocket. I'm just going to hold it there. You can pin it down, and when you're sewing this up, here I'll show you. You sew up to not all the way up to the zipper. You sew it right to here, and you'll see why you do that after when we do put the zipper on the pocket. I mean, put the this piece to the window. Okay, so I'm going to do the other side. Okay, and I'm going to be attaching this to the window, but first I got to turn that window, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've sewn this part of the pocket, and I'm just going to, for this is the window that I need to cut out that little piece, so I'll show you what you do. You cut in the very middle of that, and you cut it little triangles this way. Okay, so now what you're doing is turning this little this fabric onto that window. So you take your bone folder and you turn. My glue is dried by now, so do that. And these little triangles, that's the end that you turn. So I'm turning that all the way around so I have a nice open area there. And then I also turn my top part of the lining. Oops. Try to make it nice and flat. Okay, I do both of these. Do the other one. Well, I got to put a little more glue on that one, but I'm going to just put a touch more glue there, and then I can show you how to sew this little pocket to this window. So that's what I'll do right now. So I'll be back over at the machine in just a moment. Okay. So I have the piece that I did. I turned the fabric over the window, and I have my pocket piece. What you're going to do now is actually sew this to this zipper area, and what you need to do is this little area that we didn't sew all the way up to, you flip it back, okay, and then you place your window over your pocket, okay, and then you can pin it right on the bottom of the window, making sure that fabric, that part of the fabric is sticking back so it doesn't get sewn through. Because what you're going to do is sew just this bottom stitch first. So I'll do that first. Go all the way across. Little back stitch. Then you cut your thread, and then you can take your pins out of those two sides. Cut your thread, and now what you do is flip this piece of fabric that you had back there. You flip it up, and see it'll cover that hole where that window is. And you can pin it down, but really it's kind of pretty stable now, so you can just kind of hold it with your hand. And what you do now is sew the other three sides of that window. starting with this side. Okay. Okay, go all the way around. Okay. Okay, and then the next thing from here is what you sew the two pieces, your front and back lining together. And so I'm going to go get my other half of this that I had to glue, so I'll be right back in 1 second here. Okay, so what I'm going to sew the two right sides together. I've turned that other side of the stay. You're sewing these two right sides together. I'm just going to pin this here. Okay, and the first thing, you just sew your sides first. Okay, so I'm going to sew the sides. Well, you can cut. Maybe I'll just, okay. Okay, so what I did, sew the two sides, as you can see, and also the bottom seam, and now you're doing the T-bottom part for this lining. So what you do is you turn it this way and kind of open the corners up a little bit here. Okay, and then you line up these two seams. That's the front, the bottom seam and a side seam. You open the seams and you pin that open. Okay, so you have it nice and straight. Then you're just going to sew these across. These are the little bottom corners. So you just sew these across. And after I do this, we'll actually be ready to drop the lining into the bag and sew up the bottom, or sew up the top. Get cut. Okay, so I'm putting on my feet. What I did, I also put in the cardboard piece in there, and then I'm putting my feet on. Put the last foot. You have to, what you do is you take your awl and you poke the holes, go all the way through. You may have to poke it a couple times, and then push these little prongs through. And then you bend them down, and then you basically, the next thing is to just drop in your lining. You just place it in there. If you're wanting to have a closure on this bag, you would put a magnetic closure right there on the top before you sew this up, but I'm not going to put a closure on there, so I'm just going to have it loose. So I just dropped a lining in, and what you do is you make sure everything fits. You line up all your seams. And I use these the clips to hold that in place. Okay, and get another clip here. Two more clips, 2 or 3 more clips. Looks like it's fitting really good. Okay, so then I have that clipped in. It fits very good. And then the next thing I'll do, the final seam, is just sewing this on my machine all the way around. Okay, so I'll go back over to my machine and sew this up for you. Okay, so I'm just gonna sew up the top of my bag. I dropped the lining in, and what I'm gonna do is sew all the way around. Okay, and after I've sewn all the way around, the bag will be done, and I'll show you what that looks like. This is how it turned out. I sewed the top stitch. That was the final stitch. You have to make sure you avoid your straps, while you're sewing around. And that's your basic T-bottom tote with a little zipper pocket lining inside. Okay, that's it. Thank you.